doctor. He says I either have bronchitis or walking pneumonia. Sending a prescription over to CVS.
So she was sick the whole weekend when you were
No,
up there?
she was fine. She woke Monday night. She was like, "Oh, my throat's sore." Woke up yesterday, 2 hawkers that were green, but felt fine otherwise. But I'm like, if it's green, you gotta go to the doctor. So I text Rachel about 11:30 today. Got a text from Bella. Doctor said either bronchitis or walking pneumonia. They sent a prescription to CVS. Rachel replies, "Which is it, bronchitis or walking pneumonia?" I reply, "I got a text from Bella. Her doctor said it's either bronchitis or walking pneumonia. They sent a prescription to CVS." Next text from Bella, or from Rachel. "Should we have her go see Emily at premiere tomorrow?" I got a text from Bella. She talked to the doctor. They said, like, she keeps asking these questions.
There's like, I think it's Jeff Foxworthy.
That's what I said. It was a Jeff Foxworthy thing.
Yeah.
My friend,
my friend Ryan.
Matt called, said he was in a bad accident. Please pray. Matt, my buddy Matt texted me and said, "Please pray, I was in a bad accident." So I told my wife, blah, blah, blah. "Oh my gosh, is he in the hospital?" "I don't know." The text just said, "Please pray for Matt. He was in a bad accident." "Were Millie and the kids in the car with him?" "I don't know." Was it his fault? I don't know.
So you guys went, well, I'm sure you'll talk about it, but you went and saw Bella.
Actually, I'm not. I'm going to talk about another story.
Okay.
Yeah, the weekend, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, it was great. I mean, awkward in that, Bella doesn't have a lot of friends, and she lost a bunch with the whole Gina experience.
Yeah.
So, like,
So
she
she
has...
did end up losing those friends, even though she didn't think she was on the outs with them.
Well, yeah. I mean, they don't hate her, but she's not hanging out with them.
Right.
At least I don't think. But like when we were out at the bonfire Friday night, she was like, "Oh, those people are all friends with Gina." And I'm like,
Bonfire.
It was a bonfire, actually. It was really cool. It's about like 8 pallets. But we went to it and we're like...
Right, here we are. What are we gonna do?
And then we ran into her gay friend Eric, who she calls Little Eric. He's like 5'11". She's like, "It's just how he seems to me." He's kind of like a cross between Kendall and
Kendall.
not Bradley, but what's the kid from last year from high school and this year, blonde-haired kid.
Brandon.
He's kind of in the middle of those two. Well, he deals poker for Gina and her athlete friends. And I was like, "Oh, we gotta talk about it." Like that's like beat goalie. They don't even play, you just deal.
Right.
But he found out that Gina's mother made her move out Thursday night at 11:30 and said, "If you don't move out tonight, I'm coming to come get you." So then I had to keep Rachel from looking all over campus to find Gina's mother.
I think you started to tell me this at church, or Aldi. I want to say Aldi.
Right. But all that being the case, so Rachel kept saying, "Oh, let's hang out here and just see if we can find any of your friends." I'm like, "Maybe has no friends to find." Like that level, But we saw comedian, magician, contortionist Friday night on the campus. It was the programmed activity. And he's been on America's Got Talent. Did I say this?
Yeah, we were at the elder meeting and told the elders.
And he's like Ben Davidson mashed with Andrew Godal. And Joe goes, "No."
Oh, you didn't say that. That's
Oh yeah. Well, Joe goes, "No, he's more of a more Jewy Ben." But so awkward, but just controlled the room. Hilarious. Great. And then
Positive message guy.
No.
Oh, this is a different guy. Oh, that's okay.
This is Friday.
Gotcha, okay.
Saturday night, there's a theater downtown, not on campus, that was like an
Now we're live on the mics. Here we go. Little
Grilled chicken and hot peppers.
Oh, I can't wait.
Stank on
I
it.
can't wait to talk about what I made with the sirloin.
all right.
Tyler's very unimpressed with the butchering of the cow.
5, 4, 3.
Welcome, everyone, and pull up a seat at the table. It's Lunchtime in Rome. Tonight's episode 218 is entitled Anti-Comfort. Too often we try to comfort someone, and not only does it not work, they end up feeling worse, and we feel frustrated. Why is that? Why doesn't it work? What can we do about it? That's what we're talking about tonight. So, pull up a seat at the table and join us. First-time listeners, you can subscribe on your favorite podcast app or watch us live or later at youtube.com/lunchtime in Rome. Visit us at lunchtimeinrome.com, and while there, you can take our relational needs questionnaire. Make sure to follow us on all social media, and it would be great if you gave us a 5-star review. Jay, what specifically is this podcast about?
Being alone is the worst. Good times aren't as good, and bad times are worse when you're all alone. Romans 12:15 says to rejoice with those who rejoice and mourn with those who mourn. That is how you keep people from being alone, and what this podcast is all about. We demonstrate that in the first 15 minutes of the podcast, and we talk about it for the rest. So while it may not be 12:15 in Rome, we're treating it like it is lunchtime in Rome.
Without Chris.
Minus Chris.
No, Chris. Losing
Yeah.
his voice again.
Man, the sickness is going around.
He is down with the sickness.
So
Get
I
up.
had my yearly checkup with my doctor
Did you now?
today, this morning.
Hate
And,
those.
they're the worst. So I go,
Like the Nate Bargatze,
And-
thing when he goes, when you're young, it's like a drive-through, whatever. Then
Yeah.
once you turn 40, they close the door.
so let's talk about it. So I get in there, and the nurse takes my blood pressure, whatnot, and it's 150 over 80. She was like, a little high.
Wow.
And I was like,
Now, do you get blood pressure phobia?
well, I said, well, I'm
Or
a little,
anxious?
I said, I'm a little nervous, and I drink a lot of coffee. And she said, that's fair, and thanks for being honest. And so doctor comes in, and he's like, I want to retake your blood pressure. And I said, yeah, that's cool. And so we're talking. He's like, oh, you dropped some weight. That's good. A little muscle redistribution. I've been seeing him for 15 years. And I was like, I've been
Muscle
working out.
redistribution.
Yeah. He's like, doing a good job. That's great. He's like, and now, we don't have to do the prostate exam. Not until 50, And then he retook my, that's what he said, until 50.
Well, my point is, okay.
So he retook my, my blood pressure.
You said, but maybe you could anyhow.
And
I was feeling frisky today, Doc.
it went down to 140 and over 80 or whatever, like normal. He was like, well, that's normal. And I was like, well, I relaxed after you said we didn't have to do the prostate exam.
That's funny.
And he laughed. It was good, but good checkup. But I'm on my 3rd antibiotic.
Nice.
I'm on a Z-Pack.
You're on a 3rd antibiotic.
Yeah.
Wait, did he give you any kind of prescription to go get a panel test for being over 40 and doing lipids and stuff like that?
I get my lipids checked every year anyway because I had gastric bypass. So I get
okay.
my thyroid and my lipids blood test every year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's one of those things where I walk away from my my doctor's visit, and he's like, yeah, you're gonna have to make a thing for LabCorp. I already sent, and I'm like, yeah, okay. And I don't know why I don't. Why don't I do that?
Well,
Wait, why don't you do what?
Go get the test done. He's already sent the prescription in for me to go get the test done.
My question is, why don't they just do it there in the doctor's
Why don't they just do it it's a pee test? Just take my pee right here while I'm there.
No, it's a blood test.
It's a blood test.
Which either one.
They do that too.
I'd
They have
rather
a phlebotomist there.
I'd rather them just do it there because
Yeah.
then it's on me to make a follow-up thing, and
That's too much.
Well,
It's too
you might
much.
have to I know historically I haven't scheduled my blood test with my doctor's visit, so then I either have to come back or I have to go to a third-party quest.
However,
So if you request it, maybe they'll
So
that
do
way
it,
they
while
have
I'm
somebody
there.
that takes blood while you're there.
we have the same PCP though,
Mm-hmm.
and I just walk right over and they jab my arm.
Really.
Yep. Now I also get that done for my thyroid, but
And that might be
Anyhow.
why, because and it might be different because mine's for my gastric bypass and thyroid. So.
well, and you've also dealt with Lex's results and my results and what they reacted to the results and overreaction on some, and so it's why.
Yeah.
unless you do get something that's crazy. But
And a lot of it's like looking ahead, it's like, hey, early warning signs and some of
sure,
these things.
I'm not against it
So
entirely.
I should
but
probably
it's-
try to do it,
at
but
some point.
Well, now I'm in that anxious
I'll do it
waiting
next
time
year.
for my blood test to come
That's
back.
the worst.
yeah. So
Because I don't even know what lipids are. What are we testing? I don't know.
Nobody does.
Well, and the
all
thing
made
is,
up.
like, there's something bad that could come back,
Right. Well, like the whole thing that happened to me, that I don't know if we talked about on air. I think we did. That, my bad cholesterol was high. Everything else was fine. Bad cholesterol was high. And so I researched it. I looked into it with the people that I,
Yes.
yeah, the one that Bella said, you
and
sent
then
your doctor.
here's your diet.
Right. And then they sent me the high sugar, low fat diet that I should follow with butter and canola oil and everything
Yeah.
else. So even if you get your results back and,
I mean, I use butter.
True.
you should use butter.
Yeah.
Oh, lunchtime diet talk in Rome.
Well, and so one of the things that justifies me not doing that is Lex has this scale that measures like all these different body functions, like bone density and like fat around your bones, and like I don't know, like you stand on it,
Yeah.
and
I know what you're talking
there's
about.
an app that comes with it, and it's interesting. It's
called a Wii
since
Fit.
I stopped drinking, all the numbers have gone drastically improved, like
Amazing.
within a couple months. So that was interesting. So I don't have to go. I don't
You're
have to
fine.
go.
Nobody's
LabCorp.
ever been healthy and gotten sick.
No, ever. But Eric, you said you're on your third round of antibiotics
Yeah.
again. Jeez, man,
Z-Pak.
it's like it really is like Maggie's. Hey, we're at the finish line. It just doesn't seem to come for you.
Yeah. So I'm hoping, I'm more hopeful about this. I like my PCP a lot. He's great. And I trust him. So I'm hoping that this is, because he said he would have done this one, when I had the second round of antibiotics.
Oh, but you were going to like Med
I went to Med
Express.
Express because, I'm not going to get a doctor's appointment real quick.
Right.
With my guy. So
MAGA.
Yeah. So today I drove up to pick up Bella, who herself just got herself an antibiotic for either bronchitis or walking pneumonia, but she's fine. She just has a cough. And I stopped and played a little disc golf by myself, Grove City. Very lovely. I was thinking about Moraine, but I'm like, no, let's play a flatter course, a little
Beautiful
quicker.
day for it.
And it was,
Yeah.
and I was leaving strokes out on the course, either a bad throw, bad putt, not terrible, whatever, but playing well and just, enjoying the time and just being out and gorgeous, windier than you would think.
Yeah, it was a little windy.
And that layout is 21 holes. So my first little bit of confusion happened when I came out of the woods on 16 to go to 17. And I realized, wait a minute, there's only one more hole left, but it's a 21-hole course. Well, the point is there's hole 5A, 6A, 7A. So the 3 extra holes were earlier. So I'm like, crap, I'm almost done. And if you remember, what you guys probably don't, 17th hole is a very long par 5 in a field. Goes down and then up a hill. But now they're doing construction. Now, mind you, I'm getting a text message from a friend who, as you guys know, and everybody who sits at the table with us knows, I hold my politics in publicly pretty close to the vest. I don't want it to be a divisive issue.
Right.
So I don't do that. Well, this friend doesn't. They're very, like a lot of people, outspoken about them. Well, this person's texting me about a politician who I know, and they're just gently but intentionally making fun of them about a picture they took. And so then I'm sending it back and I'm saying, whatever, no big deal, whatever. And I want to, so I'm getting upset. And then I look and the hole's now not 900 feet long, it's 300 feet long because there's construction. Okay, fine. Finish the hole, get another text with one more dig at this person. All right, well, I remember it's a walk from the 17 green to the 18 tee. So I can't get there because of the construction. So I just start walking the way I know to walk. Well, now I'm replying, and then I'm editing, and I'm replying, and I'm editing, and I haven't sent it yet. And I'm deleting, and I'm like, I really want to give it to this person and everything else, and you're doing, no, do it. So finally I just said something very simple and curt, but to the point. And I kind of look up, and I go, none of this looks familiar. So I look at the GPS, and I'm like, well, that blue dot, it's indicating where I am, is nowhere near the 18th tee. I have gone the complete opposite direction. And now that I think about it, I was 600 feet from the beginning of a long walk because the hole was shortened. So I'm now 300 feet instead of 900 feet, and then I walked the wrong direction. I'm near some baseball field. So I'm like, all right.
In Cleveland.
Yeah. So I just start walking, and I'm like, well, that blue dot really isn't moving. And I'm like, so I must be really far from where I need to be. So then I did the Joey Tribbiani from Friends, and I had to flip the phone around and get into the map so that I could see, all right, so the baseball field, there was actually 2 baseball fields. I thought I was close to this one. So I'm walking, I'm like, all right, now the blue dot's going the wrong way. And like, and I'm in this like clearing where the baseball fields are, and there's no paths anywhere other than the way I came, which was quite a while ago.
And you've played this course several times, right?
But I've never been once before.
Oh, okay.
And I haven't been here before because normally I went the other way before the construction on 17.
Right.
And so, I mean, and on the map, I can see the course, but it's a good, now I'm just trying to get back to the course. I'm not even trying, 18, we've forgotten about that.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, I'm going to cut through these woods here. Oh, I found a walking trail. Okay, there's a building there. Okay, I come up. I'm in the back of some apartment complex. I walk out of the apartment complex. I'm by the Burger King on Main Street before you even get to the park. I measured it afterwards, half mile away.
Wow.
So now
Wow.
I had to walk a half
You
mile
were distracted.
just to get back to the opposite side of the course from where I had been and where I was supposed to go.
And you're a fast walker.
I don't walk slow.
No, you don't. Yeah, you don't take casual
So now I
strolls.
was really steaming
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
the person who had sent those texts
So-
and everything else.
Do you feel compelled? Because, like, for me, you guys know me. Like, I'm not going to answer my phone. I'm not going to do that when I'm, like, if I'm out trying to enjoy that, it's hard for me to go, oh, I have my phone ding. I better look at it because it might be something I have to deal with. Where I'm like, I'll deal with it after I'm done doing this thing. Do you feel compelled?
On a day like today when Bella's sick, I'm on my way to see Bella. Rachel's worried. What about Bella?
Yeah.
This, that, the other thing. Where's Joe? What's going on?
As
So-
a pastor, do you feel like that? Is that part of?
No.
No.
I have no problem looking at a text
And ignoring it.
and ignoring it. So if it dings and I see like it's Amy and she needs something, then yeah, like whatever. But if it's,
Of all questions
whatever, what?
to be asked when Chris is not here.
Why?
We're talking-
no.
because of the response time with Chris. And
Right.
ignoring
Chris
things.
won't pay attention to his phone in the most important of times.
While he's looking at it.
And then if he does, he forgets any kind of follow up or
And then he has to take a nap.
right. Oh dang,
That's why he should be at the table every week.
he should be.
But it ended up fine. I mean, I wasn't late to pick up Bella. I gave myself a par on 18. I didn't go the other half mile to the other end of the course to where it would have been.
Yeah.
So 2 under par. I mean, it's fine. I was even last time I
Bro,
played there.
you're good.
Do you remember
Let's
that?
go.
Do you remember that course we all played in Vineland, New Jersey?
South Vineland. Thank you very much. Was the name of the course.
Was that the first trip?
Yeah, I think it was it was
No, it was on vacation at Ocean City. It wasn't the trip.
Yeah, it was Ocean City.
Yes,
It was
those
2020.
courses were awesome.
It was a huge course, and like we kept getting lost. Did we have the app back then?
I think we did, and that's the only thing that saved us.
Yeah.
Because that was a complicated.
It was
not really-
a layout that was.
And they had crisscrosses in the back, like where you
and
finish.
we were relatively young in our disc golf careers at that point,
Brand new
right?
months.
Yeah.
Right. I didn't even have. I don't
Right,
even
that
know
was
if-
2020. That was really when we first
I don't
started.
even know if I had a bag at that point.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I might have gotten my bag for the trip.
Right. No, South Vineland. They've updated it. I've looked.
Yeah.
I would love to play those. Those were fun and memorable. Like
So
I
we did-
remember.
we did the Vineland one. What was?
We also did the name of the Cape May.
Oh yeah, we did that one a couple times over that
We
2
sure
years.
did.
I still want to relive that first trip we went to out in Ohio.
That was a great trip.
That house
was
was
really good.
awesome.
Metro
The
Parks
courses were
Farm.
amazing.
Yeah, that was a good one.
I want to do that one again so bad.
Yep.
That was fun. Speaking of fun, over the weekend, actually last night, Tuesday night, I made
It's Wednesday.
sirloin. Yes, so it was last night. I made some of the sirloin we got from the cow that we got. I pulled out a sirloin and I was like, huh.
Sirloin roast. Sirloin.
Just the sirloins. It was a big thing, just
Okay.
like a big thing.
I will say I'm confused by some of the names
Yeah.
of the cuts.
Well, I looked in my
Chuck
Betty-
roast, I know what
Yes,
that is.
I looked at my
Rump
Betty-
roast, I know what that is. But there's other things that are like
Right.
if it's like just sirloin, I'm like,
Well, Betty
sirloin.
Crocker has a great in the Betty Crocker cookbook. There's a great breakdown of like what's in a cow. So
and they're like to the name of the.
yeah, I'll send you a picture.
Yeah,
of it.
please
has
do.
like a diagram.
That'd be
Yeah,
great.
I'm sure that's not on the internet
Probably
anywhere
not.
either.
I've never heard of it.
But yeah, so it was it said sirloin. I think it said sirloin steak, and I pulled it out, and it was one big cut of meat.
Mm-hmm.
But I cooked it up, and I found this garlic butter, and it was really simple to do. You know, you cook the steak for like 5 to 6 minutes on each side. You make this garlic butter. It was a lot of garlic with a little bit of thyme. And we did baked potatoes, and it was so good. It was simple, but it was so good.
So it must have been a
garlic butter
sirloin steak, because if
Yeah.
it was a sirloin roast, that wouldn't have been enough time to cook it.
True. So it was definitely the sirloin steak. And,
So big but flat. Like, okay, got it.
Yep, and we were able to get like 4 or 5 different, 4 or 5 cuts out of it. So yeah, it served.
It's good beef.
Servings. Yeah, it was really
It is good beef.
Yeah, it was really good. In this particular, like, there wasn't a lot of fat within it, you know, which
Yeah.
was kind of nice as far as the steak goes.
Well, you had the butter, though.
It did have the butter. The butter was, I mean, it was super easy to make. It was a lot of butter.
Complement that nicely.
It was a lot of garlic too.
How
There
much?
were a lot of garlic. No vampires visiting us last night. But it was also so that
Well,
was
if you had, it'd be okay because you had a steak.
we did have, we had a steak.
And garlic. And
And-
you're set.
No silver bullets.
Not yet.
Not yet. It was also a very big weekend. Starting Friday night, won the hockey championship.
Woohoo!
Yeah, again.
What was the score?
It was bad. We won way easier than we should in a hockey championship against the team that we played. Like, it should have been much closer than it was. But
Well,
it was,
if you don't let them score, it's not going to be close.
yeah, I don't like letting people score.
No,
So
they gotta learn that.
Saturday, I bartended a wedding. Our chiropractor,
Would have been a long time before I would have guessed what you did.
yes, so my chiropractor, she got married, and we'd been talking. She's a bartender, and she was like, "Do you want to bartend my wedding?" This is like, a couple months ago. I was like, "Sure." Sounds like fun. And it was so much fun to do that because I used to do it. I did it for
Right.
2 years. And it was really cool to be behind the bar. Really interesting to be behind the bar again. But it was a good crowd, and I made I made enough money to cover the cow.
Really?
Yes.
Some nice cash.
Yes. From like 3:30 until about 10:30.
Oh, well, that's 7 hours.
7 hours, but I mean,
Yeah, but that's if you break it down,
And how much of what you made
it's
was
lawyer
tips?
money.
all of it.
Oh, so she didn't pay you.
Well, so she basically, so she gave us 200 as a base, right? But then above and beyond that, so I made like $300 in tips above and beyond that 200. I wouldn't do it again for a long time.
day.
Yeah, it was a long day, and I remembered why I stopped bartending because
Right.
like towards the end of the night, it's like, this just makes me sad now,
Right.
You know.
Except for a wedding, at least, it's like, they're having a good time.
They did it, and that was a really
As
really
compared to like a Tuesday.
correct, right, right. Tuesday at 3 p.m, and
Yeah.
it's like that now. I mean, it was a good time. It was nice that the crowd, like, nobody got out of hand, and her being a bartender, because part of my thing was like, I have no idea what drinks are today. Like, I don't know.
So you want a cosmopolitan, do you?
Like, somebody asked me for.
You only knew how to make a fashioned.
Does Betty Crocker have a cookbook for this one?
It wasn't old then.
No. So basically, people would come up and say, I want rum and Coke. I want this.
Right.
And if I didn't know the drink name, I was like, so what do you want in the drink?
Rum and Coke. Jack and Coke.
What-
Rum and Coke.
Here's the things I have. What do you want me to make
Beer.
you? But that was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. And then Sunday morning did 2 services, and then we went and saw Moulin Rouge downtown at the
a busy
Benedum.
weekend.
It
You
was
had
a
a
very
big
busy
weekend.
weekend. It was great, but it was very busy by Sunday night. It was like, all right, I'm done. But Moulin Rouge was amazing down at the Benedum. It's probably my favorite musical.
That might be one of the only musicals that I actually kind of enjoy.
Man, it was, and the production value down there
Yeah.
was just
Benedum's
it was
legit.
astounding.
Yeah.
It was really good. So, I
Didn't get into any arguments.
I didn't get into any arguments even at bartending, and so there was no reason to really do any comforting.
True. And then if somebody would have comforted you and done it wrong, well, that's worse.
That would have been worse.
You know what's
Sometimes-
worse? Me interrupting your segue.
Because I think you did it last week too.
Are you doing it now?
I am.
Oh,
Because I didn't want to go any further without recognizing Marilyn, our newest paid subscriber. So thank you, Marilyn. You can also subscribe. I encourage you to visit us at lunchtimeinrome.com. Also, we've had 2 people take the relational needs questionnaire this week. Yes. You can also do that as well at lunchtimeinrome.com. And that's what I wanted to say.
I will say that for now, we've talked about this in the past, different ways to get there. But I think for now, Mary Lynn sits at the head of the table.
Head of the table right now.
Yeah.
She's at the head of the table.
And we do need to figure out what we're doing for
All that
the,
kind of fun
the paid
stuff.
people. So
Yeah.
we appreciate
Hey,
it very much.
She could play on the worship team at Faith Community Church whenever she wants.
Maybe.
She's sitting at the
No,
head of
she's
the
great.
table. What
She's
more do you
great.
want?
That's right.
Largest donor
Mm-hmm.
or a partner or whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome.
That is
And
awesome.
We celebrate with that. But
sorry,
when
not sorry for
somebody is
interrupting.
sad, you are to join them in their emotions. That is what comfort is joining somebody in their emotions so that when they're feeling alone, feeling hurt, which is an emotional need not met or taken from them, they realize they're not alone because you have not only just joined them physically, but emotionally in that moment, so that when they remember the hurt, they will remember you being right next to them, being with them in that moment. That's good comfort. It is rare. We just got done talking about apologies, conflict resolution, and how rare a good apology is. I don't know if there's a metric for it, but good comfort's up there too. It's pretty rare when you get somebody who just gets it. Some people are naturally good at it, and they're very few.
Yeah. It really does stand out when it's good. You know, like
Accidental comfort, you mean?
Did you say accidental?
Yeah.
I would say natural.
Natural.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Yeah.
but it is one of those things that people do such a poor job or a non-existent job that when it does happen, and if you have any sense of knowing that what good comfort is, you're like, wow, that was really good because it's so rare.
Mm-hmm.
Right. You recognize it just because it's like, wow, that person really made me feel good. You don't
Right.
go, well, that was good.
Right, like
comfort
you're
the way
watching a
that-"
movie or a show or something and somebody comforts well, you're like, man,
Well, that's even rare.
you know?
So we've sort of touched on these topics in episodes 207 and 208 when we said emotional needs that clash. And tonight we're going to be talking about being enmeshed in a relationship, which was all the way back to episode 40, all the way back to where it didn't have a number on our new system.
Wow.
Just a date. But we want to look at when it doesn't work, why it doesn't work, and then again, we very simply will point to how it does work at the very end. But we want to go with the fact that when someone has expressed a hurt, they're emotionally saying, "Hey, I don't feel well. I don't do things," and even if it's not your fault, so it can just be, "I had a terrible day." Okay, I'm expressing my emotions. My needs for security, my whatever, weren't feeling well. There are 4 ways that people poorly respond emotionally. And that's what bad comfort is. It's
Right.
a poor emotional response is what bad comfort is. The difference is they're trying to comfort, but they're still in the wrong venue or the wrong or vehicle.
Right.
Now, the only one we're not going to talk about is ignoring. Because nobody ever says like, "Oh, I had such a terrible day." And the other person walks away from them thinking they comforted them. I mean, I sat there
Job here is done.
brainstorming.
My job's done
Some
here.
people that might be the better move.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah.
Hey, before you start, let me just let you walk away, please.
Yeah. I just needed to say it out loud.
Now listen, I don't want to hurt your feelings.
Yeah.
And they walk away.
Marge, I'm not going to lie to you. So long.
So yeah, I couldn't think of an example where somebody would neglect, which is one of the 4 poor emotional respondings, and think they're helping. But somebody who is giving facts, logic, and reason, they think they're at least helping. They think, "Oh, I'm fixing them."
Yep.
Okay, here's the problem. I'm going to diagnose the problem, and we're going to fix them, and they're going to feel better.
Do you feel, and this is just a feel, do you feel men would respond this way more than women?
Oh, absolutely. That's the stereotype.
Yeah.
Not in my family. Gosh, not in my family.
I mean, the notorious one is like, wife comes home and complains about her day.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
No. And then the guy tries to fix everything. That instead, wife just wants to, be heard and listened to and comforted.
Right. I was whoa-whoaing. The husband comes home, okay? The wife's been home.
What kind of world do you live in?
My bad.
How dare you?
Jeez.
Right. They fix the problem. But it also happens girl to girl. I find that if we're sticking with stereotypes or cliches, which somehow one becomes the other.
That's Jay Mitlow at Lunchtime in Rome. No.
That's right. And you hear the one girl said, "Oh, my boyfriend is such a jerk. I can't believe he did this to me." And then the friend goes, "You know what you need to do? You need to let him know, or you need to get rid of that
Girl.
guy, and he's not good for you, and everything else." So it does happen girl to girl.
Yeah.
It doesn't typically happen girl to guy as much.
Yeah.
But regardless, it's trying to fix the person.
I'm gonna look for that now. I want to keep my radar up.
Or you
for
can try
that
to.
now.
Oh, I thought you were gonna like try to bait people.
No,
into
no, like in shows or whatever, like in real life. I want to see. I want to see if how often that might happen.
Right. So the person thinks they're helping by fixing them, but yet or diagnosing it. Well, here's why this happened.
Right.
Because of this, and sometimes they'll even blame you for it. Well, you just keep putting yourself in that situation, and so therefore you're going to keep getting hurt.
Right.
Well, does that person then feel better? No. So they feel alone at their hurt, and now they feel alone at the misattempt to help. Now, it is fair to say the people that are responding poorly may not think they're comforting, but they think they're helping. The second one is a poor emotional response is being selfish. And
This is a tricky one.
Go ahead. Tell me why.
Well,
Oh, yeah.
because it seems like you're trying to understand them.
Right.
Maybe. I'm giving selfish responders the benefit of the doubt.
Correct.
Yes.
Right. And so they think that they're doing a good job by
Joining them.
and I feel like a lot of times this one is when they steal a story too.
Exactly
Yes.
what they're doing.
Yeah. So, I know exactly how you feel.
Right.
When I lost my father or when this thing happened, whatever, and then they go off and it's like, yeah, that's about you. You did not join the person actually.
And even if you're being altruistic and you're really trying to show them, oh, I do understand, it's not about you.
Right.
And they don't, they'll know you understand
Right.
when they can sense your heart, when they can see that you're intently listening, and when you don't say something stupid.
And they might even sympathize with you. Like, you're the one that's hurt. Your friend or whoever is joining you, but stealing your story. And you can sit here and go, okay, I see how that, that kind of relates.
I mean, the hurt person will sympathize with the person trying to comfort.
I can see that,
But that still doesn't.
But that doesn't calm you. So that's why I think this is a really, really tricky, sneaky one.
Is this one-upping as well?
Yeah, but you wouldn't.
Because here's my.
Okay, now this is slippery. I like
Maybe
where
not.
you're
Maybe
going.
not a
Right.
gleeful one-upping.
Because so.
Yeah, you're
Amy-
transitioning.
Well, maybe.
So to speak.
Well, that's why I want to talk about it. Because Amy experienced a miscarriage. We had a miscarriage, and then somebody said to her, "Well, I had 5 miscarriages before we had our first kid," and I was like, "That might be the worst thing that you could probably say." Like, because one, you're one-upping, and you're basically saying like, "Well, I had it harder. I had it harder than you.
Right.
I had this. It happened to me 5
you
times
guys
to
need
your
to suck
one."
it up.
Yeah, like, but they're also maybe trying to join. Like, yeah, it is hard. I had 5 before. You know what I mean? Like, but not even. Like, it's.
I think if you've
horrible.
had, they may think they're helping, but really it's just out of an abundance of hurt.
Yeah, and that's where I'm thinking of. It's more of like, it's more of a one-upping, and it's more of like, well, you don't have it all that bad. It's more like, and maybe that's critical, which we're going to.
Well, that's
be
why I
moving
said
into.
it's slippery
Yeah.
and also a good transition,
Right?
Because it could be like when you say to somebody, "Hey, other people have it worse." Okay, so the critical, by the way, is trying to assess somebody's emotions and letting them know that they're not quite calibrated. You're making too big of a deal out of this, or you always, make this into a big deal when it shouldn't be, or other people have it worse. You're saying, well, you feel bad, but you shouldn't,
Right.
and you're not assessing your feelings correctly. That is what is being a critical emotional responder is. So you think you're going to help them. Stop being so up. Don't cry.
Right.
It's one of my favorites.
Oh yeah.
Don't cry.
Yep.
How many times do you tell your kid that?
So, if you say to somebody, "Oh, I just lost $20," hey, don't feel bad. I lost 200 last week.
Right.
It's sort of a combo
Right.
because now you're making it about you.
Yep.
And you're also saying don't feel so bad. And so that's sort of a combination one. And we probably should have said at the beginning, this is table talk. Like, this is stuff most people don't ever talk about.
Yep.
This is deep into the weeds. It's almost maybe a little emotionally nerdy, but the more we talk about it, you're going to see it out in the wild. You're going to see it out in the field. You're going to see it in real life at your own tables. And you're going to go, oh, this is one of those things.
Right.
And I'm going to say it's easier to see in other people than it is in yourself. Because it took me a while.
Both ways. Like, when you give it and when you receive it. Like, when you receive it, you'll just be like, that didn't work.
Right. But I mean, like, I feel like it's harder to notice what you do, because I was the classic one-upper. And I still have the urge to, like, try to join, quote unquote, somebody in their hurt or whatever by telling my story, where I've, like, had to, like, work that muscle of, like, don't say it. Don't say it.
I still do that.
Yeah. So,
And I might have a great story.
but it took me a long time to realize. Yeah, I know. Right. And I feel like my story's great, but, like, it took me a long time to realize that, oh, I'm a one-upper.
Yeah. A story stealer.
Yeah, story stealer.
Well,
So the reason why I say that is you get so far in the weeds, and you get, like, the story that I tell is that we were at a funeral where a man in his 50s suddenly had died, and I was meeting his father. And all I could think to say to him was, I'm so sorry for your loss. You know, my son died when he was 6.
Oh, man.
At least you got 50 years with yours. And, like, I'm about to meet this guy and do the head nod and everything else. And inside my head, I'm like, that's the absolute best and worst thing that should ever be on your mind. And now I got to, like, straighten up and be like, very sorry for your loss.
God, I'm so glad you have the Holy Spirit that leads you and
And then just give him a little slap on the face. This poor guy's like 90. He's like hanging on.
His face goes white.
My son was
If you
6.
said it, yeah.
My son was 6.
A question. Well, no, go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to say, I think these last two, not so much facts, logic, and reason, but the selfish and the critical aspects of these anti-comfort is, it's an opportunity for the person doing the bad comfort to address their own hurts. You know, like,
is it an opportunity to do it, or they're revealing that they have?
That's what I'm saying. Like,
Right.
like I think maybe they're not looking at it as an opportunity, but they're saying, like, they're saying, well, you know, my dad died of cancer twice. You know, like, your dad just died of cancer. Well, my dad died of cancer twice. You know, so, like, there's that intention of seeming like they're joining in the empathy, but I think at the same time
It's a
like,
cry out, maybe.
It's a cry out
Right.
for,
Oh,
hey,
totally.
my thing has never been healed.
Yeah.
This is an opportunity for me, even though you're not looking at that way.
Right.
For somebody to go, oh,
They're
you know
trying to
what?
steal it.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
Right. So it will, and I would agree with you, but I would take it a further to the right in the outline of diagnosing what's wrong.
Okay.
In each of these situations, yes, sir.
I was going to ask one question before we move on to.
We're not moving on.
Okay, sorry.
So
Segment B.
we will eventually.
Yeah.
But it's not, hey, it's not just that their own stuff hasn't been healed. They're all unmet. They're trying to meet their own emotional needs in that moment, including facts, logic, and reason. So what is facts, logic, and reason? Well, that's somebody who has a high need of respect. I have the answer to your problem. Let me diagnose your problem. Maybe they value support or encouragement. So rather than giving them comfort, I'm going to encourage you. Look, here's how in the future you're going to be tough. You're going to get through this. That's actually ignoring. So maybe that is one. That's a way we could incorporate ignoring.
Right.
That you ignore their pain, but you just keep focusing on the positive. But
Oh, that's a sneaky one.
yeah, but the facts, logic, and reason, hey, I want you to respect me. I have the answers. Or you have a high need for security. I can't deal with this trauma right now. Here's how you fix the trauma. Let's move on. Selfish, that's somebody with a high need of comfort. They've been hurt.
Right.
So what do? You say, oh, here's what it is. Here's my story. You're stealing that need.
What about appreciation? Would somebody with a high need?
Facts, logic, and reason, I think that would come across.
Okay.
If you had a high need of appreciation,
selfish.
look, I helped you.
Uh-huh.
Look, I have the answer. So appreciate me.
Right.
Well, I was actually going to ask. My question to you guys was going to be, which of these, like, do you cringe at the most if somebody responds? to one
Oh,
of these ways?
selfish. I
Really?
don't know. No, critical's bad too, though.
Well, I was going to say, I thought maybe, because you guys are both high in respect, I would think it's facts, logic, and reason for both of you guys. Mine, I'm going with the more like selfish, because like in a sense of belonging, if I'm telling my story and then you start telling your story, but you didn't even recognize my story, then like
Your story doesn't even qualify.
it doesn't even, like, we're not even there. You don't appreciate me, and like,
I think mine supersedes. I'd like to hear what Brian has to say.
Honestly, I think I would go with critical.
Bothers you the most?
I think so.
Like, don't be so angry.
Like as we're talking about this, I think about the hospital with that doctor where he's telling my kids don't cry.
Okay.
Like, I'm in the hospital.
Yep.
And they're about to travel back across country minus me, and I'm in the hospital, and the doctor's like, he tells Abby and my kids, don't cry.
Yeah, you don't tell my kids what to do.
And Abby's 8 at the time.
Yeah, like Abby and Ethan were
like not 16.
No, right. It was that's what they do as a child. They are sad. I get his point. Like like he was confident. Hey, I'm going to take care of your dad. You don't need to worry. But like that one stands out to me. And my grandmother, there were several times where she answered hurts critically. Like a couple times we'd be at the beach house, and like watching her and my dad, and like like my grandmother was a very, very difficult, hard, tough
saint.
The older I got, Nan, love you, but man, you did not know comfort, and so I think critical really stands out to me.
Yeah,
I was going to say, I think
don't be that way. Like such an invalidation of that person's hurts and emotions.
it definitely makes sense with your.
Because I guess like I take that from respect.
Yeah.
Like you're completely invalidating that person in their. Don't be this way,
Brian. Don't be so worked up.
You just got real hot right now. No, I like it. I appreciate it very
that
much.
nerve there.
Yeah, that was good. I had a great question.
Yeah, you
Go
did.
me.
2 bonus points for Eric. That reminds me of one time I had a great question. No, I'm just kidding. That's not celebrating with somebody who celebrates. Right. That's a different podcast. That's anti-celebration. But to answer your question from me, I think I'm so far in the weeds of emotional needs and everything else that they'll just make me sad.
Yeah.
And even like, so I shared a partial hurt with somebody this summer. And when I did it, I was sort of showing them a laughable way that I've come to understand this situation. But it's a very big situation. But yet at least I can find this demented humor in this moment.
Yeah.
And the person responded with just harsh facts, logic, and reason about the overall situation. And I was just like, so you're not even going to find what I said to be funny? And you're not going to come alongside me in the desperation of this moment? And you're going to tell me something I already know? And I would say it just hurt. Like I was just like, I had to walk away and later on go, why did that bother me so much? And I was like, because what I said was funny. And I'm in a tight spot here.
Yeah.
And you told me something that a school child would know. So it's all the emotional needs. You didn't join me. You don't respect me because you told me something that I obviously knew.
Yeah.
And you ignored what I was feeling. Like that's the most personal I can get with this response. It's the one I felt the most, but it was also a matter of who it was and everything else. But in general, when I see it or when people give it to me, people are afraid to give me any kind of comfort because they're just afraid it's going to be wrong.
Did I do it right?
Yeah.
Well, that whole time I was like,
it's like
I hope it wasn't me who said
it. It's like somebody trying to give you something that they baked or cooked. Here's my food. Here's my comfort. I don't think either are good.
So that is a very good general example of ways people try to comfort or at least try to help, but fall short. But we have talked in the past, episode 40, on enmeshment. So when you go through basically trauma, literal trauma, not, if you get to a point where your emotions, your hurts overwhelm your ability to process them, you can go basically 2 directions. One is detachment, where you just say, well, this is too much for me to feel, and you turn it off. You think about catatonic schizophrenics, people that stop being able to talk, stop being able to pay attention. To the movie Witness, if I may date myself.
Yeah.
The little kid watched his mother get murdered or wherever it was, and so he stopped talking. That's the extreme example on the detachment side. You don't feel pain. You don't feel joy. You're numb. Your cup is full and you're numb. Enmeshment is the opposite end of the spectrum in a lot of ways. And that is where you become the fixer. If I'm in this situation, I must be here to fix the situation. And this is just a review before we get to where we're going. So the example, the most brutal example is, I want to go backwards. The definition is having a role thrust upon you that is not of your own. And the most brutal example is incest. You're not supposed to be your relative's sexual partner. Okay, that's obvious. But a more subtle thing is a little boy comes home from elementary school, talks to his mother for a half hour about his day, and it feels great and everything's good. And the mother says, man, that was really nice. I really enjoyed our time, Billy. Thanks for talking with me. I just wish I could talk to your father the same way. Well, that's not incest. But that little boy goes, oh, I'm not supposed to talk to you. What? And so you end up feeling like I'm not adequate in my role. So then he's going to do his best to please his mother and to do all these different things. I was the go-between between my parents when they went through their separation originally at 12 years old. I'm not supposed to be the marriage counselor. And so you end up feeling inadequate in your roles that you do have. So we've talked about that in the past. So now imagine, if you will, enmeshed is married to detached. Now, again, it's a spectrum. You know, you don't have to be completely enmeshed or complete. And again, sort of codependent is on the way to enmeshed.
So you're thinking in an actual relationship, somebody that is
that tends towards detachment,
right, is married to somebody that is
tending towards enmeshment.
Okay,
and again, I would say codependency is on the way to enmeshment. I would say maybe being short or curt with your emotions is on the way to detachment. You know, the person listened to you for a minute and they go, all right, that's enough.
Right.
You know, they tried, but they don't have the capability to listen longer. So let's imagine they're going to a family picnic, and it's enmeshed families picnic, and there's going to be drama there. And enmeshed, because they're the fixer, they want to make sure everybody's okay because they've had that thrust upon them in the past, that everyone goes to them in the family when people shouldn't be going to them in the family, whether it be grandparents or parents. So now they're going to go to this picnic, and enmeshed is going to get enmeshed in the drama that's there, that's not theirs. It's not anything to do with them. But people are going to go to him, and say, here's what's going on. You need to fix this. You need to tell them. You know, they become the confidant to all the different people in the family or the dynamic. Meanwhile, detached, they've got no problem just being like, cut them off.
Right.
Cut them off. Don't put up with that. So now imagine they go away to that picnic on a nice July afternoon. They come home enmeshed. Didn't fix everybody's problems. Why? Well, because that's not their job. It's impossible.
Right.
But they feel like a failure, again.
Right.
Because this has happened their whole life from wherever it started. And they've had to watch the pain of their family members that they couldn't fix, that was thrust upon them, and they're hurting and they're wounded. What do you think detached says to them? I know you guys don't like questions. Do you think detached comes alongside and says, oh, honey, I'm so sorry. I can't imagine what you're going through. I just feel like...
F them. Let's move on.
Yeah, I was going to... I mean, like,
they'll do all of these. All of the ones we just went over. Well, you know why they do this, don't you? Because they're doing this, they're doing that. You're an easy target and everything else. Facts, logic, and reason. You know, selfish. I can't believe I have to put up with this. I married into this, and that's not on me.
So... Is that detached from that aspect of the family, but now you're getting enmeshed with your spouse?
Well, no, sort of.
Okay.
Sort of. We get to that later because they're detached from their own history, but they're not. Well, you ruined really a really exciting part that I had coming up later on. But you're on to something there. B sub V or 5. Point of the story is this. They'll also go to critical. You know, I told you heading into this party.
You might as well even try.
That you shouldn't even try, and you should have done this, and you should have done that. because they're going from the detached perspective, not the enmeshed hurts.
Wow. Yeah.
It makes total sense.
Yeah, definitely.
And now but here's my question to you. This one's much more easy to answer. How is enmeshed feeling in this moment now? Coming home from the picnic,
And detached.
then they've
can't
been
even
detached, bowled right over top of them.
Well, I know. Well,
double alone.
double alone, but like, do they try to fix that part of their relationship?
Oh, they might. No, but here's what I think happens more often, and this is just the beauty of it all.
But hang on, but kind of like what Brian pointed out before, of like, somebody like does a one up or whatever in response, and then the person tries to comfort them, even though they should be the one being comforted in that situation, right? The enmeshment person,
Right.
right?
The
But they end up comforting the detached person.
Yes.
Right.
That can happen as well. Right. And again, we want to go back to emotional needs. The enmeshed person has a high need for security. They have a high need for acceptance. And I didn't fix them, but is it still okay? I just want to be loved even though I've made mistakes. And or belonging. Are the relationships still attached to everything else? So they come home from that family picnic in that moment, and then detached comes running over saying, nope, you did it absolutely wrong. I'm angry with you because of how you didn't handle it the right way. And now that relationship isn't okay. When meanwhile, detached, they've got the high need for security, the high need for respect, most likely, more security than anything else. Like, I can't deal with all this. Should have just handled it. Should have fixed it. It should be over by now. I can't, I don't think of it. They have no margin. They're ready to blow up at any given moment.
High need of acceptance too, maybe.
The detached, maybe, but I would think less so. Like, they're like, F you.
Right.
Brian's like, let me tell you something here.
No, I'm thinking about a certain.
I'm thinking of from a perspective of like, you tried all these things and like it's not going to work, and like you did this wrong and this wrong, like that's being critical. But then on their side, they might feel a high need of acceptance because you're making all these like waves and not doing things right, and you know what I mean? Because like acceptance is
detached. You're saying detached has a high need for acceptance because you're making all these waves. I'm telling you, detached isn't aware that they're making all these waves.
But they're
trying to stop the waves. I don't want any more waves.
Okay,
Right.
But I guess,
and they sure don't care about.
I'm also doing a poor job of explaining myself.
Well, let's try one more time.
Because I'm thinking of like, okay, so the enmeshed person does things, trying to fix things, but they're making things worse.
Not necessarily.
But they could. Doing something wrong, meaning the detached person feels like, not hurt, but like icky. It's like, well, yeah, like because you're not fixing it, you're not making your family happy. And...
Well, but here's my point.
Yeah.
He might be making the family happy because he's the go-between, or she, that they're the one that gets to go talk to him and rather than handle their own business.
Okay.
You're never going to solve the problem.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
You're taking on everybody's problem.
Right. Yeah.
And burden.
Okay. So my
and the
point
detached
is,
person is just bothered by it.
Right.
Now they may then feel ineffective because but they're going to project that 9 times out of 10 on enmeshed.
I think it would be fascinating for us to have this discussion, and then anybody who's about to watch somebody get married or planning a wedding, like you want to talk about like real life examples of these things happening. First make yourself aware of what we're talking about, and then go watch somebody try to plan a wedding with their family.
Oh, plan a wedding.
Plan a wedding, like, because there's so much on both sides. Like I just coming from this wedding that I just came from over the weekend. As we're going through this, I'm like, wow, that conversation now makes a little bit more sense to me. That conversation, that situation, not that I was super involved, but like watching this girl try to plan her wedding for the last couple months and hearing some of the things that were going on. It's like, man, no wonder people really can't get to the bottom of their problems.
No. So you alluded to this earlier, or you did. One of the two of you did.
Brian, I think did.
Well, you both did. No, we're not there yet.
Oh.
Except maybe we are. So what's crazy is, detached buries enmeshed. It just says, you should have done this, you should have done that, you're
scissors.
bothering me. Yeah, that always wins. But what I have seen in multiple situations over the years, that's when enmeshed detaches from detached.
Yeah.
And they'll just like go watch a movie. They'll go turn on the TV. They'll go for a walk. They'll go for a ride. They'll do whatever. And then detached becomes enmeshed with enmeshed. That they're going to try to fix enmeshed. And they become intertwined in that.
Right.
While enmeshed is just off playing video games for 3 hours, like, I can't hear another word from her or him.
It's like Inception.
Something.
Well, and I was going to say, I know for me personally, I go back and forth between detachment and enmeshment, depending on the situation. And
Depending on the situation or the relationship?
Well, yes, the relationship.
The relationship is the situation.
Well, like, so for instance, just let's use my buddy Kono. I'm thinking like, I detach a lot, right? Like I think that's probably my first overriding default is to detach. But then I'm also a problem solver. And when there's somebody that I know that has a problem that I care about, that I respect, that, I see I could probably do something for, hey, let me jump into this and figure out, let's figure this out. And I think that there's, in that altruism and that desire to problem solve, I can start to get enmeshed with somebody like that. You know what I mean?
The only difference in that is it's bordering. It may not even be unhealthy because enmeshed is having it thrust upon you when it's not your role.
Right.
Or here you're just being a helper.
I'm taking it on.
Right. You're taking it on. Well, that's that. But
Yeah.
again, it's a spectrum like we talked about.
Sure.
It can be like you might take too much, in which case, then you're heading towards, and if they're not okay, you're not okay. Well, now that's towards codependency and everything else. So it may not be entirely healthy, but it's not,
Not like it having it thrust upon you.
right.
Yeah, I got you.
And think about even like in a work scenario sometimes where the boss is always coming to the one employee because they'll listen. And you're like, that's not my job to listen to you, boss. So it's slippery. And again, we're just using those two polar examples. But yeah, you're a fixer for sure where you can. I would argue you may have detached because you were enmeshed in other situations in your life.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could see that.
Yeah.
You're talented.
I'm definitely detached. I know. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. You're just like, yeah. Oh, that's sad. So we don't want to leave you there because basically you will become the ignoring person. You'll just be like, well, whatever I say is going to be wrong, so I'm not going to say anything at all. But again, the answer is quite simple. And it's just joining them in their emotions. What is it they're feeling? Stay there. Ask, what have they gone through in the past? How have they been hurt like this in other times? Okay. Boy, that really must make them feel this way. Okay. And so you say, man, just listening to you, boy, it breaks my heart and makes me just feel so scared, or man, my throat's tightening up just listening to all those things we've talked about over the years. We want to make sure we join them where they are, ... right now, not short of, not past. Then that strategic time when it is okay to give facts, logic, and reason.
Because it is
when they say, what should I do?
Right.
Why did this happen?
Got any advice for me? Right.
How come it always happens to me? And even then, if somebody says, why is this always happening to me? I'm going to throw a quality. You're like,
right.
You sure?
Yeah,
maybe we'll talk about this tomorrow, maybe. I don't know if you want to. Because again, that's a minefield that you're walking into.
Yeah.
So that's my encouragement, what you do. If detached is joining the enmeshed in their pain, they just come alongside them and say, man, that was rough, wasn't it? Man, my heart was just breaking for you the whole time. You were going through that. My ears were burning. Listen, we're just watching you have to hear all those people talk. Well, then, you know what? And you were a real rock star. You did your best. It's an unwinnable war, but you fought hard.
Right.
Now enmeshed is going, yeah, right? Yeah, I did. I did my best, and that's really, oh boy. Then detached can come alongside and say, man, I wonder how we can avoid that in the future. And then you watch enmeshed and they go, well, there's no way. Well, there might be one way. But you've already joined them in their emotion. You've appreciated their efforts. Now you can say, okay, but next time, when Uncle Wally comes up to you and says, talk to your mother, you say, Uncle Wally, I'm done talking about mom. And that's we talked about this before. That's the boundary. And then when he goes, yeah, but you know what? Uncle Wally, now here's the border. I'm walking away.
Right.
I'd love to talk to you about the Steelers tomorrow or
Right.
later on this afternoon.
Right.
So they can still be productive, but not until you've come alongside them and also appreciate it. Man, I see what you're doing. I see your fight. You're such a good cousin, sister, uncle, whatever you are. Man, keep going with the good fight. I appreciate that. Man, what is a better way we could do this?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well, I think this is, I really like this discussion we've had. I really like what we've talked about because it is revisiting. We haven't really talked about enmeshed and detached, I don't think, in a while, and I think to sum a lot of this up is it is important to understand kind of your role. Like, what do you tend towards? Or do you tend towards enmeshed? Do you tend toward detached? And then, like you were just saying, once you recognize that, when you get into these situations, you have to practice it now. It becomes like a muscle, just like any other part of this emotional responding. Recognize it and then practice it, and almost make it a discipline in your life.
Yeah, and I think one thing we haven't talked about in a while, at least I don't think we've mentioned it, is a genogram, and I think that can help identify people like in your family you're related to, and
what is a genogram, Eric?
It's basically a map of your family, kind of a family tree, but then you use identifiers of, you put a slash through, like maybe an aunt and uncle got a divorce, they get a slash. You maybe dad died, so he's, out at a certain age in your life or whatever.
So you're saying it's like a relational family tree.
Right.
The quality of relationships,
right,
patterns.
Yeah. So then that can so if, you notice cousin Alfred, his parents, dad died when he was 8. He probably took on some things, that he wasn't meant to take on at 8 years old. And he got some kind of form of enmeshment in some relationship in that way. And then from there, you can maybe relate to him better, understand him better, and comfort him better.
And or see that, everybody on this side of my family, has had to react to, Grandma Wilma, and they're all this way.
Right.
Oh, well, no wonder I'm this way. And it helps me understand that more. And as we go through this tonight, Brian, you touched on it as well. It's both in what you give, but also in what you receive. So like when you're giving comfort, make sure it's good comfort and work hard at being good at comfort. But conversely, whenever somebody tries to comfort you and you sit there like I did that one day and go, well, that didn't feel good at all.
Right.
Well, break it down. Why didn't it feel good? What did they say? And how was it not comfort?
Yeah.
And then hopefully you have somebody, and if you don't, you have us to say, hey, look, here's where somebody tried to comfort me, and here's where they missed. And we'll not only comfort you for the missed comfort, we'll comfort you for the original pain that got overlooked or criticized.
And before we wind up, I wanted to say one more thing. I watched Joaquin Phoenix's The Joker.
Hell of a transition.
Crazy movie.
part of the reason I want to say this is because
I'm sure it applies.
Yeah, it's like it kind of is a movie in two parts. The first part is the build up to him losing it, and then the second part is him losing it. And as we're talking about enmeshment and detachment, it's interesting to see him in the beginning go from really enmeshed to completely detached, and to see the repercussions of that. So if you want kind of an object lesson, and it was just a tremendous movie. His acting was amazing. But if you wanted to see like the timeline, did you see it?
He had to go to some deep dark places to get that character.
But
it's wild.
You understand what I'm saying? Like you can see him being enmeshed with like his mom, and then all of a sudden, boom.
Yeah.
So anyways, I thought it was, as we talked about this, it was just like that kept coming.
Great object lesson.
Yeah, very much so.
If not brutally binary. Like a little over the top, but yet makes
an
sense.
Exaggeration,
not subtle
of an example,
not subtle,
right? Yeah, not subtle. Yeah,
no. And the acting, his acting was just phenomenal. So that's it for episode 218. Please make sure to give us a like or follow on social media and visit us at lunchtimeinrome.com. Again, while there, take our relational needs questionnaire, like 2 of you have recently. Thanks for joining us at the table for Lunchtime in Rome.
See you next week.
Bye.